Kidyaan, 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 सपनों की उड़ान।
Hello kids, today's story is about result of greediness. This story will tell you how a bad feeling like greediness puts you in a bad situation. So let's start. There lived 4 sons of Brahmins in a town. They were very poor. They had a very good friendship amongst each other. They tried various methods to improve their poverty, but all in vain. At last, they decided to go to another city to earn some money. All of them left the town. They reached near a riverbank. There they found a sage. Seeing them sad, the sage asked the reason. They told their problem to the sage. He said to them, "I will give you 4 lanterns. Each one of you should hold a lantern in your hands. Wherever it falls, stop there and start digging. Very soon you all will get money and become rich." They were really happy. They thanked the sage and moved on. They took the lanterns and went forward. After a while, one of them dropped his lantern. He stopped and started digging and found a copper mine. He said to the others, "Let's get as much as we can." The others said, "Copper won't do anything. Let's move ahead. Maybe we will find something even more valuable." Saying this, 3 of them went further ahead. Another one dropped his lantern. He stopped and dug and found a silver mine. He said to the other 2, "Come, let's take the silver." But the others said again, "We'll go further ahead. We'll definitely get a gold mine there." They had just covered a short distance when the third one's lamp also fell. When he dug up, he really found a gold mine. He said the same what the previous 2 had said. But the 4th one was greedy. He said, "You all take gold, maybe I'll find something better than this." And he moved on. He moved a bit further when he found a man. On his forehead, a wheel was spinning and his body was covered in blood. The 4th one asked him, "Who are you and why this wheel is spinning on your forehead?" As soon as he finished his words, the wheel jumped on his forehead and started spinning. The other men said, "This is the wheel of punishment. This wheel stuck to my forehead from someone else's forehead. Just like now, it's stuck to you. This will only go away when another greedy person like us will ask you the same question that you asked me." "But what will happen to my hunger and thirst?" asked the 4th Brahmin son in crying voice. The man replied, "This wheel is for those who are extremely greedy for money. As soon as this sticks to you, you will forget all hunger and thirst. Only the pain of its spinning remains to be endured. Now you have to wait like me for another greedy person. Until then, pay the fine for being greedy. God gave you so much. Instead of being happier, you still seeked more. And that is why He has given you this, to understand the value of what you had. You should seek more in life, but you should be happy for what you have. Own only that much what is necessary, or else desire has no end. Instead of being happy, you will become sad. Instead of being rewarded, you will be punished. Have you ever noticed, kids, how we always cry and shout for new toys and forget about how many other nice old toys we have? How many other things our parents have bought us? Instead of being happy for so many other things in life, we become sad to buy new things in life. You should always be happy for what you have. Try and play with old toys and your good friends. That will give you the best time of your life. Don't cry over things which you don't have. Appreciate what you have. Have a good day. Hello kids, today's story is about a monster and his servant. This story is about how to face challenges instead of getting scared. There was a monster. He appointed a person as his servant. The man was a good person. Whatever the monster asked, he did instantly. But the monster remained a monster. No change. The monster was not satisfied at all. He would glare at the smallest things and say to the servant,
"If you make any mistake in the work, I will not spare your life."
The man would be afraid. He was not able to sit and rest for a second. He was always afraid that the monster would kill him. But what the man could do? He was stuck in the clutches of the monster. He spent many days like this. One day, he became very tired after doing the work. He had done his best. So he rested for a while. When the monster saw him, he shouted,
"What do you think you are doing? I'll eat you."
When he heard the monster shouting, he was afraid. But his inner voice told him, "You are a fool. What are you fearing from? Even if he doesn't kill you, you are already living a life of a dead man. You must remember the giant will behave like a lion only till when you are afraid of him like a deer." He heard the inner voice, and the sleeping warrior inside him woke up. In a loud and clear voice, he said, "What are you shouting at? I have done all my work. Since morning, I have been standing and working. I just sat for a second, and you are shouting at me? Come and eat me if you want." The giant understood that now it is not possible to scare him, and if he ate him, it was not possible to get another hard-working man like him. From that day onwards, the giant's behavior towards him changed. The monster never threatened to eat the man again. That's why it is said that people will suppress you until you let them. You should not fear of wrong things. Rather, raise your voice and be heard. Be kind and respectful towards others. But when they mistreat you, be brave enough to raise your voice and make your point. Hello kids! Today's story is about serene wisdom. It's a story of a boy who, with his wisdom, became one of the most remembered leader of this entire world. Gandhiji was known as Monia in his childhood. Instead of his real name Mohan, people called him that as they loved him. Monia's body was very thin. He liked to climb trees very much. There were trees of papaya and guava in the temple yard. Monia would climb up the trees and pluck fruits. His father prevented him many times from climbing the trees because he feared that Monia might fall down, but Monia never listened. One day, he climbed up the guava tree. Coincidentally, his elder brother came there in time. He pulled Monia's leg, brought him down and slapped him. Monia went to his mother, crying, and said, "Ma, brother has slapped me." Ma simply told him, "If he slapped you, you shall also hit him back." His crying stopped in an instant when he heard his mother's words. He said in a serious tone, "You are saying this, Ma? I must hit back? Hit my elder brother?" His mother laughed and said, "What's the big deal? It is very common to see children quarrel and fight with each other." Monia glanced at his mother and said, "What kind of a mother you are? You are advising me to hit my elder brother. He is elder to me. I won't lay a hand on him even if he beats me to death." His mother was astonished. She had jokingly told him to hit his brother. But before she could say a word, Monia said, "Ma, why don't you stop those who hit you? You must tell them to stop hitting others rather than advising others to hit back." His mother's heart was brimming with emotions. She was so proud of her son's serene wisdom. She embraced him in her arms. That boy grew up to become world's most honored leader, Mahatma Gandhi. He fought with non-violence and persuaded Britishers to leave India, giving India its due freedom. Hello kids! Today's story is about unmatched courage. It's about a boy who did not fear of anything. This incident happened when India was under British rule. There was a boy. His mind was filled with patriotism. He helped the people who were fighting for independence and trying to break the chains of slavery without caring for their life. When his mother saw the feeling of patriotism in her son, she was very happy. But she was scared that if the British police caught him, he might disclose the names of those who were secretly working for India's independence. One day, when his mother told him her fears on the matter, he said firmly, "Oh, Ma, don't you worry. I will never be afraid." Since he was just a child, she did not believe him and said, "I will test your courage." Then She lighted a lamp and said, "Now put your finger on it." The boy didn't waste any moment. He put his finger on the flame. His finger was burning, but he did not even say ouch. Instead, he was smiling. When the mother saw her son's courage, her eyes were filled with tears. She took him in her arms and blessed him. The boy continued his work with doubled enthusiasm. That boy, Ashafaqullah, became one of India's great fighters. He would sing with joy, "Oh, my motherland, I will serve you. It doesn't matter if I'm hanged or imprisoned for life. I will play the flute and sing in your praise."
आज 16 दिसंबर है। 3 दिन बाद सुबह 6 बजे इस शरीर को फांसी पर लटका दिया जाएगा। अपने लिए ये मेरा दृढ़ निश्चय है कि मैं शीघ्र ही फिर भारत में जन्म लूंगा।
When he was sentenced to be hanged for the Kakuri conspiracy and the rope was being put around his neck, he was smiling happily as if his lifelong wish had finally come true.
Hang till death. मैं अपने देश के लिए एक क्या हर जन्म में मृत्यु को गले लगा सकता हूं।
He not only made his mother proud, he also made Mother India proud. Such people might leave this world, but they always stay in our heart, an inspiration for others. Hello kids, this is a story of true help. This is a story about a blind woman who got true help from her dear friend to live a happy and independent life. There was a lady. She lost her eyes. First, she lost one and later she lost the second one. She became very troubled. Her selfish husband could not bear this new responsibility and left her. Even her younger daughter started avoiding her. But nobody was ready to help her. In that situation, one of her friends came and started to stay with her. But her behavior was very strange. When the blind woman would ask for water, she would give water to her only once. If the blind lady asked water for the second time, she would say, "I'm not your servant. Go yourself and drink from the pitcher." When she asked for her clothes, the friend would give only once. If the blind woman asked for the second time, she said, "They are in the cupboard. Go and take them yourself." When the blind lady asked her to walk with her in the yard, she would accompany her only once. When the blind woman would ask for the second time, her reply was, "I have work. You can go all alone." The blind lady would reluctantly stand up and do her work. The truth was that the friend neither hated her nor did she want to get away from the work. The friend did not want to make the blind woman completely dependent on others for her work. She didn't want other people to show pity doing all her work. Slowly, the blind lady had started to do her work independently. Now she didn't need anybody's help. Then she understood that her friend did a great favor for her.
Thank you.
Later, she went to a blind home and helped numerous helpless brothers and sisters of that home to do their own work by themselves.
With the aid of the desk slate or the writing slate which the blind uses and the multipurpose adhesive.
So kids, what did you learn from the story? You should only ask for true help from your friend or your parents. You should try and do as much work as you can on your own, because doing your work on your own will make you independent and confident. Today's story is about a boy who used to be always unhappy. He used to shout and fight with everyone. He had problem controlling his temper. When he became angry, he would shout and just say anything that came to his mind and hurt people. His father was observing his son for quite some time and thought to resolve this. One day, his father gave him a bag of nails and a hammer and said, "Every time you get angry, hammer one nail into the fence in our backyard." The first few days, the boy hammered so many nails that he emptied half the bag. Over the weeks, the number of nails he hammered to the fence reduced, and gradually his temper was much in control. Then came a day when he didn't lose his temper at all. His father asked him to remove one nail each day that he manages not to lose his temper. Finally, on the day the child was removing the last nail, his father says, "You have done well, son, but do you see the holes in the wall? The fence is never going to be the same even after repainting. Likewise, when you say mean things in anger, you will leave a scar in the person's mind, as the nails did to the fence." So, what do we learn from the story? Anger does not do any good to anyone. Anger makes us fight, shout, cry, and feel bad. If you want to feel happy, you should stop being angry. Anger is a dangerous weapon like a knife. When you put a knife in a man and draw it out, the wound heals, but the scar always remains. Hello Munchkins! Today's story is about the good company and the bad company. It's a story about two parrots who built a nest in a banyan tree. They lived with their two young ones, which they took good care of. The mother and the father parrot went out to gather food in the morning and came back home by evening. One day, when their parents were away, the young parrots were taken by a cruel hunter. One of the birds managed to escape and flew away from the hunter. He ended up at a temple and grew up listening to kind words and compassion. The hunter put the other parrot in a cage, and soon it learned bad words and angry tone of hunter.
"Here is the man coming to our house, master. Catch your bow and arrow and kill him quick."
The hunter and his family were crude and did not care much about kind words. One day, a passerby was resting outside the hunter's hut. Sensing someone is outside, the parrot said,
"Fool! Why are you here? Fool! Leave! I'll cut your throat."
Scared, the traveler left that place and started walking further.
"What a nasty bird!"
And on his journey, he reached the temple where the other parrot was. The parrot at the temple said,
"Welcome, traveler. You are free to stay here as long as you want.
Surprised, the traveler told the parrot that he met a similar parrot at Hunter's house and it was very cruel. How is that you are so kind? The parrot replied,
That must be my brother. I live with the sages and my brother lives with hunters. I learned the sages' language and my brother learned the hunters' language. I always speak kind and good words. However, my brother always shout and speak bad words. We were same when we were kids, but now we are totally different just because where we stayed and how we spoke.
The company we keep decides who we will be. So kids, you should always do friendship with good people if you want to be a good person. This is a short story about Hungry Wolf. Once a wolf was very hungry. He looked for food here and there and everywhere, but couldn't get any. At last, he found a loaf of bread and piece of meat in the hole of a tree. The hungry wolf squeezed into the hole and ate all the food. It was a woodcutter's lunch. Woodcutter was on his way back to the tree to have lunch. But he saw there was no food in the hole. Instead, he found a wolf. On seeing the woodcutter, the wolf tried to get out of the hole. But he couldn't. His tummy was swollen. The woodcutter caught the wolf and gave him nice beating. Moral of the story: never steal ever. Today we will hear a story of the rabbit and the tortoise. Once upon a time, there was a rabbit and a tortoise. They were very good friends. They used to meet and play every day. The rabbit always boasted that he could run faster than the tortoise.
Nobody can beat me in a race.
So they decided to have a race. They chose a starting and finishing point.
Oh, really? So let's have a race and let's see who wins.
The rabbit ran really fast and soon left the tortoise far behind. He thought the tortoise is too slow and he can rest for a while. So he stopped under a tree and went to sleep. Meanwhile, Tortoise kept walking the whole time and reached the winning point. When the rabbit woke up, he saw that Tortoise has already won the race. So kids, what do we learn from the story? Slow and steady wins the race. Hello kids. Today we will hear story of a thirsty crow. There was a crow which was very thirsty. He searched for water everywhere. After a lot of searching, he at last saw a water pot near a well. He looked inside the pot. There was very little water in the pot.
I am very thirsty. How do I drink the water?
The crow thought a lot how to drink water from that pot. After a lot of thinking, he got an idea. He thought of a plan. He picked up some stones from nearby. He put them one by one into the pot. The water level in the pot came up. The crow drank the water and flew away happily. So kids, what do we learn from the story? We should never give up easily. We should always try harder and harder.